Welcome to the Mount Pleasant Podcast, featuring discussions and interviews about the people, places, and events that make Mount Pleasant such a special place.
This is the Mount Pleasant Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Cleary, and all thanks to the great people of Mount Pleasant Magazine, I get the honor and the privilege of introducing you to Mount Pleasant, the people who make it such a special place to do business, to work, and even to live. We're introducing you to Mount Pleasant's best on the Mount Pleasant Podcast. When you cross over the Ravenel Bridge and you come into Mount Pleasant, you go by some brand new hotels, some 21st century grocery chains like Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, even the new Opie's greet you. So Mount Pleasant's a modern town, but there is a place in Mount Pleasant that'll take you back into the old village. And the main place in the old village is the Pitt Street Pharmacy. It's been there for a while, and it's our subject today on Mount Pleasant Podcast. This is Brian Cleary. I'm so proud to be joined by Brandi Sherbert. Brandi is the pharmacist and also the new owner. Brandi, thanks so much for taking the time to join us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here with y'all.
So 111 Pitt Street is where we'll find the Pitt Street Pharmacy. You yourself, how long have you been with the pharmacy?
I've been there almost 7 years now.
If we go back in your background a little bit, I see where you're a graduate of the Medical University of South Carolina. You are also a graduate of Clemson University. Just so we get this out of the way right up front, the Pitt Street Pharmacy is still a safe place for Gamecock fans.
It is. We don't have many that work there, but we do have some Carolina fans that work there, and it is a safe spot. We do enjoy talking a little bit during football season, as always, but always everyone's welcome.
All right. So Tiger fans, Gamecock fans. Now, what about Alabama fans? Because our producer, Roger, he's a big Alabama fan. That's where I may have to cut the line off, but Bama fans as well?
That one teeters the line a little bit. We do have a few, but that one teeters the line a little bit closer than Carolina does.
Okay. Just don't go in and yell Roll Tide when you get in there.
Right.
So, Brandi, we've got this great part of almost Mayberry, USA, right here in the town of Mount Pleasant. It's got to be a passion for you. So talk a little bit about, if you could, what the Pitt Street Pharmacy is. And let's start with this. What does it mean to you? You've been there 7 years. You're now the owner. Can you take us through that?
Absolutely. So I was lucky enough to actually start at Pitt Street Pharmacy when I was still in school. So fourth year of pharmacy school, you get to do a bunch of different little rotations. Pitt Street was one of mine. I fell in love with it. I knew I always wanted to do what's called compounding in the pharmacy world. So basically that means we have a lab in the back of the pharmacy that we make almost everything we dispense to patients in-house by hand, which is really cool. Just like it was done in the 30s when the pharmacy originally opened. We've kind of gone back, to the roots of pharmacy, to what pharmacy really started as. Fell in love with the pharmacy, fell in love with the location, with the patients that I got to know. Of course, the previous owner, Kim, amazing boss, amazing guy to work for and work with. And I fell in love with it. So luckily I started working there after I graduated and got licensed and been there ever since. It is definitely my home away from home for sure. Just such a small town feel in what has become a very large town of Mount Pleasant. And, I love that when people walk through the door, 95% of the time, I, know who they are and they know who we are. And it's just a really easy, welcoming location.
You're filling some big shoes. Kim Richardson was there for 25 years. March 27th was Kim Richardson Day in Mount Pleasant. We've featured Kim in Mount Pleasant Magazine. Any pressure taken over for Kim?
Definitely a little bit. It's some big shoes to fill. I mean, he is the biggest personality, one of the greatest guys I've ever had the pleasure of knowing and especially working for and working with and learning from. I've learned more from him in the 7 years that I was there that I probably can about say that I probably learned in school. He's just such a wealth of knowledge and such an amazing person. It's definitely a little pressure, some big shoes to fill, but I'm excited about it. He's definitely been very hands-on even since the transition. He didn't just kind of walk away and leave me high and dry. He's definitely been there with me and been there as a resource every day, and couldn't tell you how many times I've called and texted him since.
Now, my first personal experience with the Pitt Street Pharmacy, and people may or may not realize this, and I didn't at the time, you're a pharmacy for two-legged and also four-legged because my cat Maisie was the first time I got a prescription filled at the Pitt Street Pharmacy. You take care of our furry four-legged friends.
Absolutely. That's a very large part of what we do. I love doing all the different vet prescriptions. I also highly encourage anybody when they come pick up their vet prescriptions to bring their four-legged babies in. Cats, dogs. We have people that we've filled for birds, pigs, horses, you name it. We've, lizards, all of the above. So I always encourage people to bring their little four-legged pets by with them so I can put a little more of a face with the name of the animals and get to interact with them. But we do a large variety of vet meds, hoping it'll make life a little easier for the owner and the animal itself when you can make it a tasty little treat or, something a little easier than having to hopefully not, shove a medication down them and make it experience a little happier for everybody.
A happier experience thanks to the Pitt Street Pharmacy. It's a beautiful thing. We're talking about the Pitt Street Pharmacy today. I'm Brian Cleary. Thank you for joining us today on Mount Pleasant Podcast. Brandi Sherbert is the pharmacist and also the new, most recent owner of the Pitt Street Pharmacy at 111 Pitt Street. It's a great place to visit in the old village in Mount Pleasant. Now, Brandi, you talked a little bit about compounding. Is that the biggest difference? Because obviously, we all know there's a CVS, there's a Walgreens, there's a Rite Aid, but there is a difference when you go to the Pitt Street Pharmacy. I'm assuming that compounding is just one of those differences.
So compounding is definitely one of our probably largest differences that would stand out to most people. We can just make about any medication in multiple different ways for people just to customize it for, exactly what they need, whether it's an antibiotic for a child that hates the flavor that's available at CVS or Walgreens, or, it's the dose that child or an adult needs is not available. We can custom make doses. And because we make it in-house, we can make almost every little increment in between to be exactly what each patient needs, be it human, be it vet. And we can make it into fun, different liquids that are fun flavors like chocolate or banana, strawberry. For our vet friends, we even have like beef and bacon flavors. We also, we can do topical creams, pain creams, hormone replacement therapy, lollipops. Those are always a fun one to make. Chapsticks. We're able to make so many different things. And you just have, I feel you've got a little bit more of that one-on-one touch with patients that sometimes, unfortunately, the chains don't have truthfully the time or the staff to be able to take the time. Not that they don't necessarily want to. That's, why most of us pharmacists got in this field. But sometimes when you're filling that many prescriptions a day or doing that, juggling that many hats, it can be difficult to step away and actually be able to talk to some of the patients like I feel I'm very lucky that I get to do every day.
Podcast advertising is the new way to reach your best audience. Podcast advertising gives your business a voice of authority. Be heard. Advertise on one of our podcasts. Visit carolinapodcasts.com or call 843-345-7012.
You're listening to the Mount Pleasant Podcast.
Personal service, without a doubt, it makes a difference there at the Pitt Street Pharmacy. So what's the secret? And this is what I mean by that. Personally, I meet someone 15 seconds later, I forget their name. I walk into the Pitt Street Pharmacy. I haven't been there all that much, but Mr. Cleary, Brian, what's the secret to doing that? You're helping me and a whole lot of other people by giving the secret to how to be that personal that you guys are.
Honestly, I think it comes down to that we love our job. We love where we are. We love our job. We get up every morning ready and excited and wanting to go to work. And it just makes it that much more fun. We feed off the patient interaction. That's why we all want to be at a small place that we're at. We're lucky enough that we love what we do. And we want to know our patients. I want to know exactly, your name when you walk in the door. I want to have a general idea of your history when you walk in the door and what brought you in and what brings you by to say hey to us. It's truly, I feel like for us, it's our love, it's our passion that really drives our personalization for a lot of people.
And as you've taken over there at the Pitt Street Pharmacy, and I'm going to give you complete credit for this, all that construction is finally done. Maybe that was part of the deal, that I'm not owning this place until the construction. But for those who were maybe a little inconvenienced, it's perfect now.
Construction is done finally. Will say parking is not always the easiest. There's a lot of post house restaurant, all that kind of stuff there, but construction is done. There's parking. It makes it much easier. There's street parking. There's side street parking. Come in, see us, grab a milkshake, grab a grilled cheese. If you're really up to it, maybe you want to try the grilled cheese challenge. But yeah, no, it's a lot easier. I will, thank you. I will take credit for the construction being done.
Well, let's move down from the pharmacy then. Since you brought it up, I was going to go there anyway. We're going to go to the soda counter. First of all, you need to explain to people, because not everybody knows about the grilled cheese challenge. But the other question is the secret to the grilled cheese sandwich. How is it so tasty?
I'm fully convinced it is the grill that we have at the pharmacy. I have done it before where I have honestly tried it, gotten the same bread, same cheese, same everything, made it at home, not the same. I'm convinced it is that grill. It squishes it just right. It makes it just perfect. It's got to be what it is. It's the only thing I can figure out. And just the love and the experience. You get to step back into a 1930s pharmacy. You get the original, Rexall soda fountain with the fountain Coke machine, whole 9 yards. It's the experience plus that grill. I think just really, really does it.
And maybe people don't think, I'm going to the pharmacy for lunch, but the fact that you've been able to keep the prices where they at, inflation's going out of control. We're paying a ton for everything, but everything on the counter there, very reasonably priced.
Yeah, we try to keep it. We've got so many, families and young kids that luckily the Old Village is super safe, super family oriented neighborhood that, mom and dad gives them $5, go down, grab lunch, grab a soda. So they're able, it's important for us, or for me, truthfully, to be able to still have the kids come in. I love that it's such a safe space for parents, for parents to feel like they can send their kids there by themselves, and their middle schoolers can come and get some candy or some ice cream or whatever they want. And it's a really big thing for me that I want to try to keep it as reasonable as possible and not be too crazy with all of it.
And I think part of the tradition at the Pitt Street Pharmacy is the fact that so many people from Mount Pleasant, and particularly say from Wando High School, they've worked behind that counter. You've had so many people come in and out, of course, come back then as customers, but that's got to make it special as well.
It absolutely does. I love having the high schoolers there. They bring definitely a new energy, especially in the summers or on the weekends. It's cool to see them come back through. It's a little sad sometimes when I see them come back through when they're, graduated or getting married or, I'm like, wow, it hits a little harder, but it's always fun to have them come back in and stop back by and say, hey, and hang out. And, a lot of the kids around there and families around there still have charge accounts at the pharmacy that they can come in and the kids can, get a grilled cheese and a milkshake and throw it on the charge account and not even have to worry about it. So it's just a fun little way to reminisce.
Right in front of the pharmacy area where you go back to get your prescription filled, that amazing candy counter. Who's responsible for deciding what goes in the candy counter?
We honestly take a lot of feedback from the kids. That's our big thing. A lot of the kids, especially, we've got a pretty decent group of kids that comes in about every day. They really are good about telling us, what's the newest stuff that they really want to see, that they really love. So we depend a lot on their feedback of letting us know what the newest and coolest and latest candy is, other than, try to keep your classics also. You got to keep the ones that everybody knows, but they're really good about letting us know what they're looking for.
This is the Mount Pleasant Podcast. I'm Brian Cleary, and thanks to Mount Pleasant Magazine, we're able to bring you some of what it is like here in Mount Pleasant. People who work here, people who live here, people who run businesses here, and Brandi Sherbert is one. The Pitt Street Pharmacy in the Old Village is under new ownership, and that's Brandi, who's been there a little more than 7 years. She's the pharmacist there. So people may think, Brandi, that, it's a quaint little place, it's nice, and I want to go there, but boy, it's a small little place. I'm going to be paying way more for my prescriptions if I go to the Pitt Street Pharmacy. True or false?
So sometimes it's actually pretty false. A lot of stuff that's still, bringing new medications, maybe we can't compete. But a lot of times I have patients come in over and over and over and tell me our prices have beat their insurance at CVS and Walgreens and everywhere, time and time again. So my tip to any patient that's ever wondering or wants to come by and check it out is give me a call. Talk to me about what you have. I'll be more than happy to take the time, take a few minutes out, sit down with you, look over some stuff, and tell you what the pricing would be, and then you can kind of compare and contrast. But truthfully, a lot of times we can even come in and beat a lot of the big chain pricing. I think a lot of it's just that because we're small, we can control a lot of our own pricing. We can control where we get certain drugs from and which ones we do and choose not to get. Whereas, unfortunately, sometimes a lot of the chains, they don't have as much of a choice. They have, one location, and that's where they must get everything from. So a lot of times I try to look out for my patients as best as I possibly can and source the best possible products at the most reasonable pricing for them.
And I don't want to use my own personal experience all the time, but I've been in the Pitt Street Pharmacy enough. I've never had any insurance issues. People may again think, oh, they're a small little pharmacy, they're probably not going to take insurance. Obviously you do.
We actually do not. We do not file any insurance at Pitt Street Pharmacy. With us specializing in compounding, 99% of the time, insurance does not cover compounds directly to the pharmacy. So Kim made that decision about a little over 20 years ago now to stop taking insurance. But with every prescription filled, the patient will get an insurance claim form where you can submit for direct reimbursement yourself, every single prescription. But again, with all of our, traditional prescriptions, blood pressure, cholesterol, all of that, a lot of times we are able, especially if patients want to do 2-3 month supply and kind of get it a little bit at a time, able to beat a lot of the insurance pricing, even without taking any insurance.
What happens behind that counter when you guys all get together? Is that where you figure out we're going to make a green lime bacon flavor? Who's coming up with these flavors for the prescriptions that you are creating?
So we honestly I asked the patients what they like. What are their favorite flavors? We probably have over 50 flavors available that we have in-house. And if there's ever a flavor that somebody's like, I absolutely want to try this, if we don't have it, I will reach out to my wholesalers and see if it's one we can get. All about trying new flavors. We have some crazy ones, like obviously for animals, tuna, bacon, peanut butter, marshmallow, to, their traditional grape and orange, but we've got butter pecan, vanilla butternut. So we try to get a pretty good variety for something will taste good for everybody.
Is there one flavor that you've found that here's my go-to? Is it chocolate, or is it, obviously it depends on the person, but is there one that rises above the others?
Honestly, grape and orange are the solid standby classics. Grape and orange for most people. For kids, tutti frutti, watermelon, the super sweet flavors, but overall grape and orange are always standby classics that people know. And they're like, well, if it's grape, it can't be too bad. If it's orange, it can't be too bad. And usually those are some solid ones that we can work with.
And I'm a little curious in terms of, does that create an extra challenge for you? Because penicillin tastes, and you're trying to obviously make it better. Does that make it more difficult to fill that prescription? Or is that just something that you guys have a system for and it's easy to do?
Yeah, so we gotta have a system for it because we've been doing it for so long. We really know, what drugs are super bitter and which ones really don't have any flavor at all. And you can kind of really mask. But we've got an ingredient that's called Bitter Stop, which just kind of helps mask the bitterness. We've got some stuff that helps make it a little bit sweeter, helps bring out the sweetness. So it's a lot like a baking recipe is what I equate it to. Okay. Once you've kind of done it a few times, it's pretty similar. Maybe adjust a little bit for this concentration or for this flavor, you might need a little more, a little less. But it's really similar to like a baking recipe where we can add or subtract certain things that help cover up some of the nastiness or bitterness that is unfortunately inherent with certain drugs.
Now, the Pitt Street Pharmacy is a little slice of Mount Pleasant, but it's world famous in a way. It's been featured in some movies. Outer Banks is filmed there. Should I look at an episode of Outer Banks? Am I going to see you at all?
I was not in any of the episodes. I was there when they did a lot of the filming. I got to hang out and watch a lot of it. It was really cool to watch. It was crazy to see the amount that goes into the production, but I had more behind the scenes a little bit and helped out and just got them some water if they needed it. More behind the scenes aspect.
So how does that come about? I mean, do you get a phone call saying, "Hey, we've heard about your amazing place here. We'd like to incorporate it in a movie"?
Yeah. So oddly enough, the scouting or one of the scouting directors for Outer Banks also worked on The Notebook. So he was already familiar with the pharmacy and kind of familiar with Mount Pleasant and the area. So he came back to Kim a few years ago, before Outer Banks was ever even, started way before they even started filming or really had anything. It was like, "Hey, we've got the show we're thinking about doing down here. Would you be interested? Would you be willing to let us kind of film around and all?" And Kim, I wasn't around when The Notebook was filmed, but Kim had a great experience with The Notebook and filming with the crew. So we jumped right on it and we're like, absolutely. It's a fun thing to do. And it's always fun to, go on Netflix and see that Rexall drug sign in the shots.
Were any of the employees, anybody working there, were they able to be a part, an extra, or any in the scenes?
Yeah, some of them were some extras, and some of the kind of background scenes are some of it's kind of hard to spot, but if you pause it just right on a couple scenes, yeah, it was cool. But I think one of my favorite memories is honestly watching them erect a building that they honestly built in less than 24 hours, stood for about 48, and tore it down strictly for Outer Banks to shoot a few scenes.
Wow. It's amazing. Well, I'll have to remember next time, bring my autograph book when I come to the pharmacy and see who wouldn't sign it off. So let's wrap it up at this point. Brandi, the Pitt Street Pharmacy has been around for a long, long time. There's no doubt about that. It opened in 1937. You're a small business in a big growing city, fastest growing town here in the Palmetto State. What do you think the future is for you and the Pitt Street Pharmacy? And what does it mean for you being a small business owner in the town of Mount Pleasant these days?
I truly think the future is bright. The community around has not, before the transition to everything, really rallied around the pharmacy and is really amazing support. I think we've got a really long life ahead. I think I'm really, really excited about the future and the possibilities. And every single day we look for new things, especially when it comes to compounding. What's new? We try to stay as up to date as possible with everything and what's new and what is new that we can offer our patients to help them have the best life, the best quality of life possible. Humans, animals alike. What can we do to improve their life? And that's really where we look at it from. And the community has really just been amazing to us, and they're excited about us and they don't want us to go anywhere. So I think we have a really, really good, really long future ahead.
And for the next visit, next time somebody walks through those doors at the Pitt Street Pharmacy, they're going to want to take the grilled cheese challenge. What is the challenge? So
you have an hour. The challenge was started a little over about 15 years ago now by a neighborhood kid that just wanted to see how many he could eat in one sitting. If I remember correct, it started out at like 6 or 7. The most recent record is up to 40 grilled cheese sandwiches. The guy that did it, his name was George. He did it in less than 26 minutes. You have an hour total to try to beat the 40 grilled cheese record. If you win, you get your picture up on the wall, T-shirt, don't have to pay for any of the grilled cheeses.
You become a Pitt Street Pharmacy legend. It couldn't come better than that.
Absolutely.
What's your best effort at the challenge, or have you passed?
I'm pretty sure mine's about 2. I would have even made the wall 15 years ago.
Well, the next time you're in, you got to try a grilled cheese sandwich. If you haven't, your prescriptions will be filled there. Sure, it's old. It's a taste of Mayberry, they say. It's in the old village, but it's a modern pharmacy, right, Brandi?
Absolutely. So when you walk in, the front half of it, we've tried to change as little as possible. It's going to look as close to the 30s and 40s as it can. The back end of the pharmacy, where we actually do, we've done a lot of updating. We've got a really nice lab in the back, the whole 9 yards. It's definitely a modern pharmacy that we can provide any and every, comfort and hopefully beyond that any other pharmacy can for you as well.
It's an opportunity for you to support a small business in the town of Mount Pleasant. It's been featured in the pages of Mount Pleasant Magazine, and we're happy to feature the Pitt Street Pharmacy and their new owner and pharmacist, Brandi Sherbert, today with me, Brian Cleary. Thank you for joining us for today's Mount Pleasant podcast.
Thanks for spending your time with the Mount Pleasant podcast, your community, your podcast. Listen to past and future episodes at mountpleasantpodcast.com.